Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
Football.
And a happy Thorsday to all who celebrate. Thor Nsytrom from Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. If you're into fantasy football, if you're into football betting, if you're into the NFL draft, Thor knows a lot about all of those things and the Minnesota Vikings, and he's got you covered. So we're going to dive into Thor's treasure trove of knowledge. We're going to start the show before our mock draft simulation by talking about which Vikings backups or young players could see elevated or starting roles as we turn over into the 2025 season. But Judd, it is February 13th.
Yes.
Tomorrow is February 14th.
The clock is running. The play clock is down.
You know there's some listeners and viewers who are slacking right now.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why, guess what? Sports Dad to the rescue, because if your wife, girlfriend, or mom needs a Valentine's Day gift, I've got some advice here, and that is there is still time that you don't have to go the cheap route, the grocery store route, right? The flowers and a thing, and it's like, ugh. No, you want to contact my friends or get in touch or go see my friends at the Petal Floral Boutique in Edina. It's the best place to go. They have a Purple Daily special, actually, because they support our show, and thus, if you support them, that would be awesome. Valentine's Day's collection includes premium roses, mixed bouquets as well. Place orders at thepetal.com, or give them a call, 612-356-2890. Delivery available. Also, get 10% off orders through today, February 13th, as Phil said, by using the code word PURPLE. These are gorgeous bouquets, gorgeous. Absolutely, your wife, your girlfriend, or mom will love them. They ain't grocery store. Sports Dad's telling you, be a hero, be an MVP of your house by going to the Petal Floral Boutique in Edina.
Purple Daily is the code. Purple Daily. Updated code. Purple Daily.
Oh, Purple.
Purple Daily.
No. Sorry about this. The confusion. It's changed. It's purple now. It's back to purple.
It's purple this week.
It's purple this week. It was. Declan's not wrong, but they've changed it. An audible. Listen, guys, you need to get this done. Play clock running down. Purple is going to get you those flowers. Your wife, your mom, girlfriend, they're going to love them.
Also, a reminder that we are back at the Fillmore in Minneapolis for the 2025 Purple Daily Draft Party, the 4th annual. We announced that earlier this week. Thursday, April 24th, night one of the NFL Draft, 7 p.m. Tickets become available at 10 a.m. Central Time on March 10th, the first day of the legal tampering period. So bookmark scorenorth.com/draft, scorenorth.com/draft to find out more information, and also to make sure you can jump in at 10 a.m. Central Time on March 10th and get tickets. Thor, what needs to happen for us to bring you out to the draft party? Every year you're always like, well, I have an A job, but I need to talk about football. What needs to happen?
You might have to have a talk with my bosses and
Matthew Berry. I'll call him Matthew Berry. Okay.
Yeah, negotiate it out. One of the great regrets of my life was that I was not in the building when they announced that the number 10 pick last spring that the Vikings were drafting football Jesus. That I wasn't in the Fillmore for that moment when the roof came off. That would have been great.
Yeah. It was a blast, and you would have had an amazing time. Let's start the show here today, boys, with where the Vikings are turning over parts of their roster over the next few months. We got free agency in less than a month. So, which players on the roster right now that they've recently drafted, or maybe like in the case of a Theo Jackson, he's been around for 2 or 3 years, and he's been a highlight of Judd's camp notes.
He's my guy, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which Vikings backups can we rely on around here to take on an elevated and or starting role? Because I think you kind of start there before you decide, well, we got to go spend a bunch of money on a new safety. Well, if Theo Jackson can step up, okay.
Yep.
Or, boy, we might lose Garrett Bradbury. You might have to cut him. Well, Michael Juergens is a guy that they seem to like. So, Thor, when you look at this roster, Michael Juergens, Dallas Turner, hell, is a first-round pick that should see an elevated role. Let's kick around some names. Who do you look at as someone who could be elevated?
Yeah, I mean, we could start with Theo Jackson. I would be comfortable with Theo Jackson as the number 3 safety in the scenario where you have brought back Bynum and Metellus, of course, is under contract. But Harrison Smith, let's say he retired. I would be comfortable with Jackson as a third safety. With all these guys, you have to think about like what is the, sort of the highest import of the role that I would be comfortable with. I would be totally comfortable if Theo Jackson went into next year as the third safety. And staying in the secondary, Blackman is going to come to the fore next year. I think the interesting question, as far as how the Vikings see Mekhi Blackman, is would they go into training camp with him just as a starter? This is etched into stone. We don't have another viable option to compete with him, challenge him. It's going to be him. That's where I'm not sure about. If it was me, I would like to have competition for him, be that, a third round pick or be that whatever. And then the loser of that competition, you would have some depth as well there in the cornerback room.
On Jackson, let's go back there.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Metellus at the beginning of the season.
Tell us with Metellus.
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't part of the show. I was actually asking the questions, okay? I asked the questions, not him. But he explained that among the safeties that are cross-trained, so like the guys that can do 8 things, it's Metellus and Theo Jackson is on that list. Like Bynum plays safety, but he's not like a big cross-trained guy. So the fact is that Jackson gives them the ability to play multiple roles, and I would imagine that the decision to include him in that tree of trust, that trust tree right there, means that there are plans to try to start him. On cornerback, I think the reality is you have to draft one because tragically, Kyrie Jackson's death, because he was part of the plan, right? So, like, I think you could easily say, hey, we're going to give Mekhi Blackman every opportunity to win a starting job, but I think you have to add depth there. The real question is, if you do that, though, are you comfortable with Blackman being a penciled-in starter, which you guys, with the depth chart, I almost think is necessary because I don't know that you're going to go out and get, 2 new starters there. So it makes sense to draft one. It also makes sense to give Blackman a long look. And I think Blackman was going to get a long look in training camp. Unfortunately, tore his ACL on the first day.
Can I add some context too to Mekhi Blackman? And Thor can speak way more to his college career than I can. But if you go back to the 2022 college football season now it's like when you look at college players, unless you're Thor and you're literally spending 14 hours a day, grinding film and whatnot, it's fun to go back in retrospect and see, oh, those are recognizable names now from the actual NFL season. 2022 best coverage grades according to PFF in all of college football, cornerbacks. So this is Mekhi Blackman's last year at USC. Number 1, Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. Oh yeah, he was running around all playoffs and Super Bowl, right? Like one of the bright young cornerbacks in the league. Number 2, Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois. Well, look at the work he's done with the Seahawks the last 2 years. One of the best young corners in the NFL. Number 3 behind Quinyon Mitchell and Devin Witherspoon was Mekhi Blackman. 3rd best coverage grade PFF in all of college football. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he was great his last year at USC. He was a guy who had transferred over from Colorado. And the thing that Blackman, that you like, it's like the feistiness thing. He'll fight you all the way down the field. The only sort of question we had about him is sometimes that aggression, it's like, like with the hand fighting and stuff like that, he drew some flags. So it's like guys that cover like that, you live sort of on the razor's edge and you just need to keep that flag in the referee's pocket. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, you saw it, like I said, his last year at USC, and we have seen flashes of it when he's been on the field with the Vikings. He stays in your face. He's going to talk to you about it, and he's going to be contesting the ball as it comes down.
So he probably gets a chance to start. I would say Jackson. I think Jackson's a starter right now, unless you bring Bynum back, and then Smith. Like to me, the most important question is, what does Harrison Smith plan to do, right? Because if he comes back, I'll take him back. He plays a position at which you have the opportunity to grow old gracefully. So like, if he says, you know what, I'd like to play another season, I'm not going to say no there. So I guess the only thing that could throw a curveball in Jackson starting to me would be if Bynum resigns, which would be, in my opinion, a little bit of a surprise, and Harrison Smith returns.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you have things to sort out there, but I think one way or the other, Jackson provides it's sort of like the safety net under you. For some of these other impending transactions, is knowing that we would be comfortable with him as sort of the all-purpose. You were talking about he's one of the move guys in practice, like having the all-purpose guy as the primary backup safety.
Let's go through some of these other names here. So the Vikings are trying to sort through what they have and what they need along the offensive line. You love your tackles. You got one of the best tackle tandems in the league. I think Blake Brandel, at worst, is just a $2.5 million swing guy that can kind of maybe he winds up taking a step back into a backup role again. I could also see him starting at left guard again. But there's at least a job or two wide open along the offensive line this year. Bradbury only has 1 year left on his deal. They could also cut him and save $3.5 million to this year's cap. So over a 3-year arc, I would say all three internal offensive line positions are open for business in either free agency, the draft, or internally. And I would even put, Brian O'Neill is awesome, but he's going to be 30 years old. So looking at a 3-year arc, who's your right tackle in a couple of years from now? So on the roster, Walter Rouse and Michael Juergens are two players who were drafted last year. Your thoughts on those guys? If you're the Vikings, you're sitting here right now trying to figure out, okay, is Michael Juergens a guy that could step in and replace Garrett Bradbury? People like him internally. They obviously like the size and athleticism of Walter Rouse. What do you think of those guys?
Walter Rouse is interesting to me, and maybe as a potential long-term guard guy, certainly played tackle in college. So, you have some of the versatility there as far as thinking about him as a backup. I don't really get the Michael Juergens thing, if I'm being honest. The Vikings front office is the only time I've ever heard people speak positively about Juergens, in the pre-draft process and all that sort of stuff. I didn't see it with Juergens. I hope Juergens isn't watching the show right now. And I hope that he develops. And I would love for him to be able to get better than Garrett Bradbury. And it's like, we could start him and get Garrett Bradbury out of here. From what I saw of him in the ACC, I wasn't on the same page with the Vikings front office with that one, but we'll see.
What didn't you like? What stood out to you?
If you're gonna delineate a pick to a center, I just think that there was better ways that you could have gone. I don't like his play strength, and I don't think he was a good enough athlete to sort of overcome that. If you're projecting him as a potential starter, and if I'm going to give even a day 3 pick to an interior offensive line guy, I want it to be a guy where, like, if everything goes right here, he can be a starter. And I think where probably the front office and I sort of disagreed on him is, I don't see the path to becoming a starter there. And if it's just as a backup guy, it's not worth the roster spot to me, right? Like, I just sign a veteran for the minimum, and then we can roll over the roster spot for another guy that we could take that potentially would have the ceiling to take over for a couple years as a starter.
And then back to Rouse for a second. He drafted, was a tackle in college, 6'6", listed at 6'6", like 313. Is he a guy, do you think he projects, if he winds up being a starter in the NFL, is it as a guard, do you think?
I think it probably is, yeah. You don't have, like, the dancing bear athleticism with him to, like, feel super duper comfortable about on the outside. The measurables, I think, is where, it can fall off a little bit there. But you push him inside to guard. It's a smart kid. Right. I mean, like, Stanford, then Oklahoma, played for a long time, had a lot of experience. And I do think, as a guard, I think you have a clear path there going forward to squeeze value out of that guy.
What does the smart thing mean too? Because this guy is highly intelligent. And I think we've certainly seen at those positions at times, guys that, not to say that they aren't good athletes and players, but we all know, like, that's a weird spot because, like, you get some highly intelligent guys who are just mammoth humans. What does that intelligence mean and translate to, Thor, as far as a potential bonus and a leg up, that you might be good at what you do, but the intelligence puts you into a different bracket that actually gives you a really good chance to succeed?
Yeah, we have Mensa members and Rhodes Scholars there. We also have the opposite end of the spectrum of just straight knock your head savages, and like that you wouldn't invite into your home. And as far as because there's more than two ways to skin a cat, right? Like and all the game is sealing a guy off from the play side and or keeping him out of your backfield. So, brawn, strength is one of the ways to do that, and savagery. The other way is good old-fashioned angles and technique, right? And getting your hat on the play side, right? And shuffling your hips around to seal the play side off. Like, there's more than one way to do this. When I was down at the Senior Bowl, one of the guys that caught my eye was a 5'10", 270-pound center from North Carolina named Willie Lampkin, who was tremendous in the ACC, despite having a frame that should not be able to work for that position. And it was all technique and leverage. And I think the intelligence thing, it goes, in with this of the in-play adjustments. The guy who has been the best on this with the Vikings last 5-10 years, it's Darrisaw, where the bullets are flying and that guy can change what he's doing in order, for the team. It's like, okay, I got my guy taken care of, but now this blitzing linebacker is looped around. He's coming in and he'll sort of push off the one guy, and now he's taking care of the other dude. So for all that different stuff, the communication and stuff like that, and working off of your plan to take care of the danger that has arrived right at the gates, intelligence very important for offensive linemen.
Do we think this Lampkin, just for fun here, this 5'10" center, is he going to play? Is he going to play in the NFL?
He's going to play in the NFL, yes. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can hang at center. I would love for him to. Like, if we could get Willie Lampkin up to 285 pounds, understand at 285 pounds at 5'10", what would be the analogous, BMI for 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", right? I mean, you're talking about a guy that's super duper compact, and as a center, being low to the ground is not a bad thing. But if he can't end up being able to handle center, it's just, you are too small, you just lack the reach, and you're physically, you're going to get nullified. What he can do, I think, is he could be essentially a jumbo CJ Ham guy where you don't throw him the ball, right? You bring him in as a third offensive tackle, as an inline tight end who's just a third offensive tackle, or you shift him into the backfield. And the goal lines where the Vikings have been terrible running the ball inside the 5-yard line for the last 3, 4, 5 years, you got a lead blocker now. You draft Willie Lampkin. All you got to just throw a 7th round dart at the guy. Now you got to stick a dynamite every time you're inside the 5 now.
Number 60 whatever is reporting eligible.
That's it.
60 whatever.
Oh God!
By the way, it's number 53 in college.
Well, whatever he is, you know what I'm saying. He's reporting eligible. Just make sure you report.
He's the dynamite that you blow up the mountain so you can get the train tracks through. That's Willie Lampkin.
Let's go.
God, that's such a good.
Yes.
Let's go. What about defensive line here? Some other younger guys that Jalen Redmond flashed in a couple games late. Levi Drake Rodriguez was impressive at times during training camp. So let's start with those guys as rotational. Maybe they're not starting, but maybe they're in the rotation more frequently. Your thoughts on either one of those guys?
Yeah, and I think with those two guys, you need one of them to step up next year, take another step with their game. I think we've seen enough promising flashes with them to be excited about them going forward. But we need one of them to be, I think, like a heavily used rotation guy that you can sort of hang your hat on. The constitution of the starting 3 there, it's going to be very different next year than it was this year. And we talk about improving the starting line there, those 3 guys. But in so doing, you are also going to improve your depth. And this is where in camp, you're looking for one of these dudes to step up where it's like you're gonna suck up a lot of those snaps when we do go into the rotation. Jalen Redmond, he was a guy who had all the physical ability in college. You saw some of the flash plays, but it was a guy who speaking of getting blown out of the hole, you know, I mean, he didn't do a really good job of anchoring in college against the run and the consistency with his game. And I really liked what I saw at Jalen Redmond this year. That might have been a find for the Vikings. And then with Levi Drake Rodriguez, he's just a wild man. Like, you just got to keep polishing, right? You found that diamond in the deepest of caves. You brought that thing out. You extracted it. You just got to keep polishing that thing. And we'll see at the end of the day what we end up getting, but it could be pretty shiny.
The college tape that I saw on him, by the way, you could see a parking lot. There was a parking lot in the back. I've never
track around the stadium. Yeah.
It looked like he was playing on a high school
tremendous.
Game. Like
absolutely tremendous.
That's an unpolished gem right there. When you're playing on what essentially amounts to a high school field.
Yeah, that's right. Is it Bear Bryant? You know, it's like that sort of thing. And that guy had absolutely no technique and was just dominating, was just marauding, you know, and it's like, let's just teach him the technique. He obviously has the frame, he has the athleticism, and at that level of football, he had the production as well. But yeah, it's polish. And we know that kid works, right? I mean, like, the people in the building like him. He was one of my favorite recurring guests on my favorite show, which is Tell Us with Metellus. You know, like, every time he came out, he'd have on his bib overalls and stuff. He'd be talking about his hunting and all this. It's like, I love that kid. So hopefully we can just keep polish.
Yeah, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of current characters on that team, Levi Drake Rodriguez. And then last one we'll throw at you before we do an actual mock draft simulation. I mean, Dallas Turner was a first-round pick, blue chip stud, and he just didn't get a lot of consistent regular playing time. You know, week one, he actually played 35 snaps against the Giants, had a sack. It was a kind of a highlight reel sack, couple of tackles. And then he didn't play more than 20 snaps in a game until week 9 against the Colts. And then it wasn't until week 13 that he got 26 snaps against the Cardinals. So he was less than a part-time player basically the first 13 weeks of the year. So I don't know, what do you expect from him year 2? Should we be nervous at all that he didn't really do much in his first go-around in the NFL?
No, not really. Like, people, like, I get the question a lot on Twitter, like, are you concerned about Dallas Turner? Is Dallas Turner a bust? And like all this different stuff. It's like, we talked about this last spring. You know, I had ranked Turner edge 3, and the only reason for that is because there was raw elements of his game, right? Where there was no raw elements of verse, right? Like, and the whole thing with NFL draft evaluation is like, you have what these people are, like, these prospects are currently, right? And then it's like that projection going forward, like, what could he become? With verse, he was way ahead of Turner when the cards were submitted, you know, in that and of course during the fall as well. But it's like Jared Verse is pretty close to being a finished product, whereas Dallas Turner, that's the thing going forward of, like, you know, he's two plus years younger, and some of these things, if you do polish them off and the technique gets better, he adds some weight, he learns how to anchor against the run and set the edge, which we didn't see a ton in college. Some of those different things that some of those other guys, Latu and Verse, they had multiple years extra in college to be able to refine those aspects of their game. And so with Dallas Turner, the first 2 years, you're looking for, you know, those parts to be polished off, and for areas of his game where we can deploy him, where he can be a plus in the NFL in the meantime. Situational edge rushing this coming season, I think is where you're going to see that. Patrick Jones, if he's out of there, now all of a sudden all the snaps for the backup edge, it's going to go to one guy. It's going to go to Dallas Turner, right? Like, I mean, you have the 2 stud outside dudes, but you have to have a guy coming in, et cetera, et cetera. The way that you would juice his, I think, is putting him out there more on the passing downs.
And here's the thing, too. We now, and it's not a surprise, but we pass judgment on guys so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, he might be a bust. I don't know. But in his defense...
No way to know right now.
Right. Well,
yeah.
and they drafted a guy that they had just signed 2 guys that could play those spots in Grenard and Van Ginkel, who are veterans. They should have played,
and
right?
Good. Yeah.
But it's like, if we get 4 years in and Dallas Turner is deemed, or 3 years, he can't play, or his snaps are this or that. Okay, that's a problem. But we are so damn anxious now to take like a first-round class, look at the rookie year, who played, who didn't, and that's it. And look, Brian Flores, there's no question about this. I can make this statement with complete confidence. That defense is hard to play in. That defense is hard to play in. Look at year 1 to year 2 of a bunch of guys, and I'm talking veterans too.
Yeah.
So I'm not just talking young guys. And it's very complicated. It's complex. And when the Vikings had 2 guys that could play the spot that Turner would have played, and then Patrick Jones, there was not ample opportunity. Does that mean that Turner was perfect or didn't have some things to learn? Absolutely not. But my God, can we slow down just a little bit on anointing guys a year in? If it's 3 years in, that's fine. Go for it. But a year in, like, we're so eager and anxious to say, well, he might be a bust. We have no idea.
1,000%. Yeah. I mean, and we would have said that last spring of like, in a year from now, you can't make the referendum on what Dallas Turner will become. Like, that's because that's the type of prospect that you're picking, right? It would have been problematic if you had taken Jared Verse and then he came out the first year and it's like he played the snaps that Turner did. But again, it's 2 different things. And I want Turner next year on the passing downs. And I think I think he's going to be out there for all of them. And this is where you can get creative. And Judd, to your point, there is, it's very complex, Brian Flores' system. And then the way that he uses players is also complex,
yes.
Right? So they need to figure this thing out. I would love to see Van Gink and Grenard as well as Turner out there for way more snaps next year when it's the obvious passing situation. And there's guys that you can yank off the field from your defensive front that maybe are not as skilled rushing the passer to get that done. And that will depend, too, as well on who do we get for the interior defensive line here in the spring, figuring out that configuration. But you'll certainly be able to use Dallas Turner quite a lot next year. And I think going forward after that, he's going to be a starter. But, yeah, the snaps are going to jump up next year.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna get into an actual mock draft simulation here, our weekly mock draft simulation with Thor Nsytrom. You know what's not complex? 2 men in a truck. It's 2 men and a truck, or a junk truck, potentially, depending.
That's right. Old Dex Tweets is trying to figure out how the heck he's going to be able to be moving out of here with all this junk. And how do I get all this stuff into a new place? Well, I'm going to get a call of 2 men in a junk truck to get rid of the junk. And then I'm going to also use them to get all this stuff into a new place. Shout out to 2 men in a junk truck, where they are just going to give you straight, no BS, no hidden fees, just easy stuff to understand. Book your free, no obligation appointment at 2menandajuncktruck.com. They want to simplify the process of moving, which is one of the most stressful things you can possibly do. 2menandajuncktruck.com for that free, no obligation appointment.
Yeah. And once you're in your home, maybe you're looking to remodel your home, and that's where Minnesota Rusco comes in. Minnesota's hometown remodeler since 1955, and they offer a multitude of home improvement products and services: windows, doors, siding, bathrooms, kitchens, decks, roofing. Cody and Casey have you covered. Minnesota Rusco, over 70 years of experience, and February is the month of love. And Minnesota Rusco loves a good sale. So they're offering no interest and no payments for 2 full years, plus 70% off all labor and everything Minnesota Rusco has to offer. Also a free gift box with every appointment as well. Nice. So it's a good time if you've been looking to make that remodel a reality. Turn to the experts at Minnesota Rusco. We appreciate their partnership here on Purple Daily. MinnesotaRusco.com. And Judd, MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air also here to help our audience, too.
Absolutely true. And guess what, folks? Plumbing, heating, cooling, and drain needs, they're not lots of fun to talk about. But my friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air, they are the people to contact. They're a 100% family-owned and operated business. MSP committed to taking care of you and your family. Building trust is a big part of how they go about things, too. So we're not talking about just one time. We're talking about these are people that you can put on speed dial for all of those needs that definitely are not DIY needs. By the way, book a $49 plumbing inspection by February 21st and enter to win 2 tickets plus a $100 gift card for food, beverages, and more to the March 9th Wild Game. For service, give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website at callmsp.com. Callmsp.com. Again, we're talking about things that probably aren't fun to get fixed, but there's nothing better than having a trusted source to go to. That's callmsp.com.
I want a mock.
All right. It's time for our mock draft simulation here. We're going to pull up for the YouTube audience. You'll see the visual here, the PFF mock draft simulator. We are going to choose to be the Vikings. We'll do a 7-rounder. We will enter the draft. Thor is going to be our lead analyst here, our general manager, if you will. And then we'll chime in as his idiot sidekicks. So here's what we're going to go off this Jeremy Fowler ESPN report where he is gleaning that it's more likely Cam Bynum stays and Byron Murphy Jr. walks in free agency. Yeah. So let's say Bynum and Harrison Smith are back, and let's make Mekhi Blackman a starter in pencil. We're going to sign defensive tackle Milton Williams, stud from the Eagles. I'll say we sign left guard Aaron Banks, who played in that Shanahan system the last few years in San Francisco, and then maybe like a veteran cornerback. So that leaves our needs pretty heavily with like a cornerback for sure, interior and offensive and defensive line always, and then running back. Let's say maybe we bring back Cam Akers and or Aaron Jones, but we're still looking for a long-term answer at running back. You guys good with those parameters?
Absolutely.
I am. Yes,
okay.
I am. And speaking of remodels, I want to remodel that running back room. And again, I want to do 2 picks to the running back room. You know, re-sign the veteran, be that Jones, hopefully, but or Akers. This running back class is stupid stacked, like we talked about before. Today on Thursday, the NFL released its invite list to the NFL Combine. This just came out in the last hour. We had 329 prospects. I was looking through the running back names, and it's like the love things coming out of your eyes, like a wooga.
It's Valentine's Day for running back, Thor.
It sure is. Yeah, and I'm falling in love, boys. I'm falling in love with several of these guys. I would love to be able to, what we had talked about, the 3rd round comp pick, and then if you can manufacture extra day 3 picks via a trade down, it's the only path to do it. Kevin O'Connell has made it very clear to everyone out there through his comments, no matter how much we wanted that tag and trade for Sam, it appears that out of honor or whatever, that they are just going to allow him to hit free agency and that stuff. So we're not going to be able to derive a pick out of Sam. The way that you juice up your picks is by trading down, and perhaps we'll do that in this exercise.
Okay, so let's try to we'll speed through this in less than 15 minutes here to respect Thor's time and the sports dad and Dex. So we're going to start this draft, and we'll just fly down to 24 here and get right to it. And then we can decide, we'll look at these trade offers, of which there are 8, and we'll see what we want to do. Just to go up real quick, Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders go 1 and 2, and then Travis Hunter winds up 4 with the Patriots. So those are the big headlines at the top of the draft. Let's take a look. You're not going to be able to see this drop down, but you do see that there's 8 trade offers.
Shamar Stewart, who went 21st in this one, is moving up boards. He was the guy in my last mock draft for work that I submitted earlier this week that I had going to the Vikings at 24. I didn't project trades in that, but Shamar Stewart is on the rise after a big Senior Bowl, and he is going to be one of the big risers in 2 weeks in Indianapolis. If people don't know Shamar Stewart's name, you will in 2 weeks.
Here's the trade offers, boys.
Let's see them.
The Ravens at 27, the Lions at pick 28, the Commanders at 29, the Chiefs at 31, the Eagles at 32, Giants at 34, and then Bears at 39 and Colts at 45.
Oh, we got a lot of options this time. Hey, Phil, can you go to the overall list and just go down quick so I could just get an idea for who's still out there? I see my boy Kenneth Grant, and I know there's people out there that are screaming at me, dude, you better take him this time, because every time we trade down when Kenneth Grant's on the board, my Twitter turns into a cesspool for the rest of the day of people yelling at me, why didn't you just take freaking Kenneth Grant? So let's see. Gray Zabel up there.
Your boy Gray Zabel from NDSU, offensive lineman.
I love Jahdae Barron too. Jahdae Barron's starting to get some real steam. I was seeing comps to Jahdae Barron to Devin Witherspoon, the kid who came out a couple years ago. It's like it's pretty close. The feisty boundary corner, live by the sword, die by the sword. Yeah, okay. So we're good here. I mean, this decision is going to come down for me to Kenneth Grant against trade down. there's enough guys on the board where we could go down a little bit. We missed out on Grant. I think Jade Barron, we could get him next 5 or 6 spots. I'll kick this one back to you guys. I do want my extra picks, but I'm going to get yelled at if we don't take Kenneth Grant. And a part of me yells at myself because Kenneth Grant, it's the guy that we've talked about. You take him, you immediately improve 2 starting lineup positions because he is going over the center, and then you're kicking Harrison Phillips out to 3-4 defensive end.
Oh, man.
So he's a 0 technique?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, he's head up. Oh.
Knock the heads. Occupy.
Well, do you want so here's if we were to move back with the Ravens 3 spots, we could pick up the 91st overall pick for sure.
That's attractive because that pick is, you're talking about, you can still get the corner that we had talked about potentially putting in a competition with Blackman, or that extra bullet for the running back. Day 2 is where this sick running back class where you're going to derive the most value out of that. We're going to have a parade of them. I'm cool with that trade down if you guys are, and I'm sorry to the audience. Please don't yell at me in my Twitter comments.
Let's do it, and maybe we'll see what happens here. Okay, the trade was accepted.
Come on, Kenneth.
So
we got 27 and
27.
91.
Yeah, let me go back to hold on a second here.
I'll fall through the wickets, Kenneth.
Resume the draft.
Bam!
So
let's go.
He's still on the board.
Let's go.
Oh, then you gotta take him.
That's conviction.
Let's go. We're gonna run.
Come on down, kid. You're a Viking, Kenneth Grant.
Happy Valentine's Day, Thor.
JJ McCarthy, his former collegiate teammate, is going to meet Kenneth Grant at the airport. He's going to have the sign for him. Kenneth Grant, welcome home.
Let's go.
Let's win some more championships
Get the
together.
flag.
Let's go. Let's go. We got him.
Here's my goal. I want the people that were at the Fillmore last year for the draft party, the 1,000 people or whatever were in that building, and the reaction in that building, it was incredible. Like the roof blew off that building when they drafted JJ McCarthy. I want that same reaction when they draft a meat and potatoes beast like Kenneth Grant to shore up the trenches of this team.
After what we saw in the playoffs, you 100% should get the pop.
So we're back on the clock with the 91st pick. We have 91, 97, 139, and 161.
Man, this mock is getting kissed with Kismet because we already got 2 of my boys right there at the top. We got Neil and we got Deion Walker. Deion Walker, unfortunately, though, and he's been falling down the boards a little bit. We take Kenneth Grant. We don't need him anymore. That's the dude in the middle. This pick is Devin Neal. Devin Neal, come on down. You are a Minnesota Viking, and you're going to be a day 1 starter, I think.
Running back from Kansas. Thor's a little biased.
I was going to say Rock Chalk. Yeah.
A little biased, but wow. Okay, so we're kind of cleaning up here. Cleaning up.
Yeah, Devin Neal, tremendous feet at 220 pounds. Some of the best feet, sudden feet, violent feet that you'll ever see at 220 pounds, and can catch the ball as well.
Feet.
Violent
feet.
He used to say that about me in 8th grade.
Oh man, I know you want to draft 2 running backs, and your guy RJ Harvey is sitting here. We're back on the clock at 97. What do you want to look at?
Let's save me for myself because I do love RJ Harvey, but I want to save that running back. I would prefer to save the second one for 5th, 6th, 7th round.
Okay.
In the depth of this running back class, we can do that. So let's just actually a trade down wouldn't be too bad here if we could get with the Raiders for 97, 106, and 80.
The 143. If it's the Raiders are offering to move up 9 spots. So they would, it says if we swap the 9 spots, they would give us the 143.
Hey Phil, if it's 90%, toss in 224. We get one more bullet.
There we go.
Okay.
Well, what if we just for the purposes of this, let's call the 239 that one more bullet. We'll just sit up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's
we'll
fair.
just keep that 239. We'll make that pick.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, the trade has been accepted. Raiders are on the clock. We're back on the clock now with the 106th overall pick. Here's the board for you.
So we got
you guys still there.
I would say safety could be a need too, just with safety Harrison Smith retiring, but
and the interior defensive line has been taken care of. We now have a starting lineup of Kenneth Grant, Harrison Phillips, Milton Williams. Yep. Right. So we are good there. So we're looking we signed Banks. So it'd be we could still potentially look for one more interior guy, and then
I would say cornerback for sure, guard, interior offensive line for sure, and anything else that would be kind of best player available at this point.
And I want to get one more running back at some point, not right now, but at some point. So let's Phil, go back to the top and do a slow scroll for me, would you?
Yep.
Jim. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Look at all these names.
Oh, man, I like. They still have Dart going too low. Dart's going to jump up a couple rounds here in an update in a bit. I like Noel too. We're in the 4th round, so those guys would definitely be good values. Maybe Phil toss. Oh, there's my boy Willie Lampkin. They like Willie Lampkin. Look at how far Willie Lampkin's up there.
Oh,
You're not
man.
the only one.
Your boy, dude.
Man.
The only
Should we
one.
do it? Should we do it?
It's too soon for that. Phil, toss up the corners, would you?
Yeah. Here you go.
Go corner and then interior offensive, those IOLs. Let's put those on a list together. See what we got.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, Parrish is too short for us. Zy Alexander, we could add another LSU Tiger. You know, we got LSU North up here. Luke Kendra is one of their dude, and Zy Alexander certainly has the size that Flores likes too. I've been hearing a little bit of smoke on Luke Kendra as far as a guard who's going to fall a little bit further, but was awesome in college, has the NFL frame as well. You know, a guard, but you know, you have signed Banks in this scenario, but you know, one more bullet there.
You could. Why don't we go Zy Alexander, get our cornerback here? Yeah. So we'll do that real quick, and then
I always love adding more LSU Tigers to the Vikes. Keep that purple on.
And then we have the 139, and yeah, it looks like our. Well, let's see here. Looks like your boy might have just gone. Yeah.
What's the guard and running back market like?
All right, let me throw guards and running backs. I'll throw IOL, as they say.
Oh, McLaughlin out there.
And then running back. So we've got the 139, the 143 coming up kind of back to back here. Here's the running backs and interior offensive linemen.
Okay. We got one of my boys too. I want to go for 2. Look at that.
Do you like Seth McLaughlin?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I think that's where we go right here. Maybe the next pick we can hit the running back, but like I think with this pick we're doubling up. We're double tapping McLaughlin.
So Ohio State center McLaughlin, and that puts us back on the clock with the 143. I'll just put all players up here. There's a lot of running backs in this mix.
Mullings for me would be like another Michigan, but like more like a 6th or 7th round short yardage goal line dude. That's what he is. He's just a big hammer back. It's too early for him here now, in my opinion. ETN is interesting. ETN was banged up this past year. He had transferred from Florida to Georgia, was just a little bit banged up, but ETN has really good speed, and he can catch the ball a little bit. And of course, he is Travis's brother. If ETN had stayed healthy all last season, I think maybe he goes a little bit higher. Oh, Phil, was that CJ West that was still out there? I seen.
Mm-hmm. Defensive interior. Yeah,
I like CJ West's game, but maybe now we've spent enough on interior defensive line. But that's a kid I think should go higher than this.
So probably what, safety or running back here, you guys?
Yeah, for me, I would probably be leaning ETN here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going.
Okay.
All right, Trevor Etienne from Georgia.
Come on down.
And that leaves us with 2 more picks here, the 161 and then the 239, which it's funny, they still have that as a Vikings pick, but we made one of the other teams kick it in. Okay, so I think we're kind of best player available here, but
we got, hey, Phil, click on the year picks really quick. I like that PFF finally added this. So we got our corner, we got 2 running backs, we got interior defensive line, so we have effectively hit the holes at least we had to address.
Wide receiver?
Yeah, if there's a receiver you like in here, I mean, Kyle Williams from Washington State.
Kyle Williams isn't bad. He's a pure slot, but the Vikings could potentially take a pure slot, thinking about using more 3 wide receivers in the future. Potentially a guy to develop there. Keep going down.
Oh, your boy Cody Lindenberg is sitting here.
I might have to pop Cody again.
I sort of like that.
Yeah, I know you love yourself a good gopher linebacker.
I like Cody, and I think Cody's going to test well.
Cashman's close to 30 years old too. You're going to need to replenish that position.
Mm-hmm. Cody Lindenberg, come on down.
You're the boat, Skyuma.
Yeah.
Go Gophers.
And then we're going to turbo our way down to the 239 here, which was a kick-in kind of.
Last any position preferences here, boys? What do we still like to hit?
I would say receiver potentially.
Yeah.
Safety if you like one.
Okay, I'll put receivers and safeties on the board
sure.
here for Sports Dad. Let's see what we got.
Thank you.
There we go.
Kyron Lacey is in a bit of legal trouble he's sorting through right now. He is not an LSU Tiger that we are going to be to Minnesota. Sorry, Kyron.
Red dot guys, Rich.
Okay,
Yeah, he's
red dot.
He's on a different board there. Keep going down for me.
Shiloh Sanders
around now. I actually would consider it. I kind of think Shiloh Sanders is going to be who's LeBron, his son, what's his name again?
Bronny, yeah.
I feel like Shiloh is going to be a Bronny pick on whatever in the 7th round of whatever team takes Shadir. But he actually deserves to be drafted. I feel like Shiloh. But
okay, we can take him.
Yeah, let's see if there's anyone else that jumps out. None of these guys. I'm just going to shout. Well, I'm going to shout out 2 dudes down there. Phil, go down one. I'm not saying I'm going to take these dudes, but 2 guys way down here on the receiver list that I kind of like. Let's say you're in the 7th round and you were thinking about the backup, Kanata Mumfield. He started his career at Akron. He has the overall stats. Like you look through, they're not crazy impressive. 813 yards this past year. 575, 554. The PFF metric of separation gained per route run, Kanata Mumfield has always been 95th percentile or above. It's a guy who hasn't played with the best quarterbacks in college, and he's not a freak athlete, and he's only 190 pounds or so. He gets open. So
I kind of love it.
It's a guy who's going to fall down, but he knows how to get open. He's 7'11" his entire collegiate career. Kanata Mumfield, you're a Viking. Come on
Let's
down.
do it.
I sort of like this.
Love it.
Use the analytics.
Yeah.
Okay, so PFF is grading our draft here. Let's see how they judge us.
Okay.
As we scroll down, a couple of A's. They hated
deep.
the Seth McLaughlin pick. B+
What's
overall.
the Seth McLaughlin here?
Why are they killing us for our late day 3 picks? We did just fine there. They got the grades right on the top ones.
They loved Kenneth Grant and Devin Neal, so we wind up trading back, getting an extra pick, and still getting Kenneth Grant and a running back there, Devin Neal, that Thor loves. We trade back again to get. So we wind up going from 4 picks to 7 picks with these trade backs and hitting some key positions.
I'll tell you what,
boys.
If the Vikings come out of Thursday, the first 2 days with Kenneth Grant and Devin Neal, I'm going to be sleeping just fine on the last Friday night of April.
Love it, man.
Rock
Love
chalk.
it. Well,
Rock chalk, baby.
If there's other scenarios that you guys, the audience, want us to entertain, even if there's crazy stuff, because we'll be doing these regularly for the next couple months, let us know. And maybe we do one at some point, because next week is the franchise tag window that opens up. So maybe we do a tag and trade just for fun, just for experimenting here, and we pick up a 3rd round pick or something for Darnold from the Raiders. But if you want more from Thor KU on Twitter and MatthewBerry'sFantasyLife.com, where you can find all his work. He's pumping out mock drafts and other forms of analysis. But Thor Nystrom, great stuff, dude. Love this.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we're 2 weeks away from the NFL Combine, so we're getting there. Can't wait for that. Good talking to you today, boys.
Awesome. All right, for the Sports Dad, for Dex, I am Phil. Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.